Um, First of all, welcome. Thanks for coming. I think this meeting is going to be fantastic. My name is Bev Milligan. I'm on the board of directors of Let's Go FMB. Wanted to start with a few thank yous. First and foremost, to Beach Talk Radio for being here. They're broadcasting live. And that's really important, especially this time of year. And again, a thank you to you because we know how tough it can be sometimes to get to this area of the town. So welcome. I also want to thank Diamond Head for providing the space once again. And to that end, please join us at cost for happy hour. That's the greatest way you can say thank you. And also, while she's not here at this point, although she may very well be, I want to say thank you to Karen Woodson. She is our council liaison, and she's just fantastic. She picks up the phone every single time, and she gets the job done for us. So I want to give a thanks to her as well. We're going to flip the agenda a little bit. Our keynote speaker is running 10 to 15 minutes late. So we're going to jump straight to our committee updates. And to that end, I want to call on Joe Arlandini to talk a little bit about Times Square.
Okay, I'm going to say excuse me for I had a cold this week. Thank my beautiful wife for giving that to me. If I sound a little rough, take it out on her. Bev, also, I don't think you have to encourage Fort Myers Beach to hit happy hour. We do that well. Okay, so I'm going to give a bit of an update on what we're working on for Times Square. We've got the participation of all the owners that do not have buildings there. The ones that border, I think that's 5th Street, are not participating in our group effort. We have hired a land planner, and we've hired a rendering company. The land planner is working with the rendering company to facilitate a look and a design. We've run into a lot of functional problems, garbage, height. We are going to have to build up with the restaurants and the facilities that have to be in those bathrooms, things like that. The hurdles that we've hit with this is what brought everyone together. So we are working together as a group from the Greek all the way down to Loyola, and then the Dairy Queen all the way down to the Sunset Grove parking lot. Those are the parcels that are being rendered and worked on. I can't show you a rendering yet. Of course, you want to see one. I can't show you that yet. I've agreed not to show it, but what we are doing is we're trying to maintain the look of what Times Square was. That's been a hard fight with the renderers to bring that look together, to keep the choppiness of, or the pieces of each building, which would be independent to each parcel. It's been a bit of a fight to keep that look. I guess the question is going to be what's going to be on the ground, what's going to be on the next floor, and is there going to be an additional floor? The position we're in, that entire Times Square is in a V zone, and we're going to have to accommodate anything that's a restaurant, and essentially pretty much every building has to use the second floor for those pieces. The ground floor, we've got enough support from the town to allow us to have serving area on the ground and bars and entertainment areas. So we know that we can get through having the cohesiveness of the ground floor and the way you walk through Times Square to utilize those both sides as we used to use them. As far as the look, every owner has agreed that we want the Times Square to remain the beachy look that Times Square was, and we hope that moves forward. I guess the next question is going to be whether or not we're going to go up beyond the second floor. There is desire to have additional floors. In our renderings, you'll most likely see additional floors. Where it's going to end, I think we're relatively at 3 floors, something lower than Margaritaville, I think is what we're probably looking at. We're trying to be very cooperative, I guess is the best word, or thoughtful on coming over the bridge. We're trying to put steps in the buildings so that it's not a box, which is not easy because somebody on ends and in the difficulties you run into of trying to create steps in the buildings so it's not so boxy is difficult. Everybody wants all the space, but we found enough people to be able to push walls in and out and have those steps and character. We have been working with Dan, the mayor. He has been our liaison through the county. We do believe that we've gotten to a point where we're going to have elevators, and it's going to be 2 common elevators that are going to lift people up, mainly for if there are guests on the additional floors, or if it's for the restaurants for the goods that need to go in the restaurants. So we're going to utilize those. We're going to try not to make it so that the main focal point is on those additional floors. They're only there for main usage of what is being used in those upper floors to accessorize for the lower floor. So we're hoping that the main focus is on that ground. We did fight to keep that, and I think every owner in there is pushing to have that ground floor as the main focal point. I think we've achieved it. I think we're about a month away from a rendering to let everyone see what it's going to be. So at your next meeting, I should be able to unveil that rendering, and everybody will be happy to show it. Not all parties were happy with it or satisfied, so it had to be held back. So that's it.
Thanks, Joe. We look forward to having you back next meeting. See those renderings. Very exciting. I'd like to now call on Alan Shinosky to update us on the pier.
Don't worry, Joe, I got enough slides for everybody. Well, my name's Alan Shinosky, happy member of the Let's Go FMB Peer Committee, and I'm thankful to be in front of you once again. My wife and I now affectionately refer to the pier as solicitation CN2 40089JJB when we're sitting around the dining room table. But to bring you up to speed, that's right. I'll stall. You guys ever see this one? No. So just to bring you up to speed, county solicited bids. On January 10th, 7 to 8 participants replied to those bids. On January 17th, there was a bid evaluation meeting where those 8 respondents were shortlisted to 4. On January 24th, they selected a vendor. It's Stantec. Stantec is a huge firm, international, publicly traded. However, they do have a locally staffed office. So it's certainly our hope that we get that small boutique approach with the strength of a bigger backbone behind them. Now, if the commission can't reach an agreement with Stantec, the number two ranked bidder, which is Kissinger, Campo and Associates, would then enter negotiations with the commission if, in fact, Stantec can't reach an agreement. Slide 3, Becky. Okay, so what are our commissioners' intent? How do we know what their intent is? They told us. The peer committee had several meetings with the county staff. The staff explained to us the direction given to them by the commissioners. Part of the problem is that we have a fundamental difference with philosophy between the county versus the town. Understandably, the county has a build back philosophy. They have over 160 active projects and very little money. These projects are Ian related, and their philosophy is simply build back what they had before the storm. The Fort Myers Beach philosophy, however, is to build back better. I would have preferred to see a surgical attempt to the 160 projects, but they're using a blanket philosophy and a blanket attempt. Therefore, their goal is to simply add some resilience to the pier and replace it. So, they want to include some resiliency, make it taller. Now, you hear people talk about this, make it taller. That pier was 8 feet wide. Now, just imagine it 7, 8, 9 feet taller. It'll look like the landing ramp of a roller coaster. It's going to be narrow and very high. Someone might be able to push it over. It's going to be that crazy looking. The peer committee, we've been repeatedly denied appointments with one-on-one to speak with the commissioners. And the lack of LFIRs, or local funding initiative requests, that were not submitted for the pier. Well, you may ask, what's an LFIR? That's all right. So here's an example of an LFIR that was submitted and approved in the state's budget last year for Flagler Beach. Hurricane Ian took out their pier, same storm that took out ours. They were given $4.5 million after the feds gave them 13.5. That's a total of $18 million. Bob's your uncle. There's a good pier. They're replacing their 800-foot pier beginning this year. The bottom line, you don't get what you don't ask for, and no one has asked. Well, who can request an LFIR? Any municipality, county, or representative. No one submitted one for our pier. Now, there's been specific criticisms for an improved pier, and I'd like to spend a few moments clarifying some misperceptions. Recently, it was referenced as a Taj Mahal. Why so wide and long? A new design would add years. Why should we listen to such a small group of residents? Most importantly, how are you going to pay for it? The goal of this presentation is to unite the community towards a common goal of taking advantage of this once-in-a-generation opportunity to improve our pier. There have been some misperceptions floating around regarding what the community and the peer committee desires, and I'd like to go through a few of them. So, Taj Mahal, as originally presented, and still what we're asking for, pictured here, represents a less than average Florida Gulf pier. What we're asking for is simply a solidly less than average pier, and not to replace the state's narrowest and third smallest pier. So when we're talking to our friends, elected officials, or perhaps streaming to our audience, we might want to begin referring to it as a less than average pier. It's not a Taj Mahal. It's a simple fishing pier. Just to recap, just to show some links, this is a slide from our original presentation. The Fort Myers Beach Pier is located in the center at 560 feet. North of it are some East Coast piers shown to scale. South are some Florida West Coast piers. You have Venice Beach, 700 feet. Pensacola, 1,471. Panama City, 1,500. And the biggest one of all, Navarre, at over 1,545 feet. So you have to ask, why are Gulf piers longer? The water is shallower, and there is less wave energy, making it less expensive to build, and it gets you closer to the good fish. Let's keep in mind, it's a fishing pier. 3 generations of my family have fished off the old pier. I would like my next generation to be able to fish off of this one. Why is wider and longer desired? There's two simple reasons: capacity and safety. Now, how many people in this room think there'll be fewer people staying and visiting Fort Myers Beach in the future? Oh, nobody. Okay. They're coming. We have the sand. We have Ed. They're coming. So, the maximum capacity of the old pier was 200 people. 200. There's going to be a heck of a lot more people at sunset invading Times Square. Do you want the ranger at the end of the pier to stop you and your grandkids the last day they're in town from going on the pier to see sunset because they've reached maximum capacity? It's foolish, simply foolish. 1.6 million people come to this county every year, and a large percentage of them stay on this island and visit the pier. It's the #1 tourist attraction in the county. Not going to bother you with this. This is just, there's going to be a lot of people at sunset. Our committee's research has indicated there's over 2,600 people that are going to converge on Times Square for sunset. And the safety aspect, we've said it before. A longer pier creates a further distance from the beach that boats can travel, creating more swimming area, creating a safe zone, a buffer zone. It's capacity and safety. I'm not looking to put Ferris wheels and restaurants and roller coasters out on a pier. I want a fishing pier. I just want one that makes sense for this island. A new design will add years. It's another criticism. Honestly, we would have been 3 years away from walking on a new pier if the process had started a year ago. Nothing prevented that process from starting a year ago except the will of our county commissioners. All the permits are the same. All the funding sources are the same. There is no correlation between taking substantially more time and a new design. It's about 6 months. Small group of residents. We are. I do not think this one needs explaining. The peer committee is a small group of citizens. However, we represent a large amount of registered voters and residents of Lee County, Fort Myers Beach residents and visitors. The survey we conducted of over 9,200 people, 6,400 wanted to see a wider pier. Over 1,500 wanted to see a longer. Over 9,000 of those 9,200 people wanted to see some form of improvement. The pier is outdated. We need a new fishing pier, not an amusement park. This is simply a fishing pier. How are you going to pay for it? This is where the rubber hits the road. So how do we pay for a less than average pier during a once in a generation opportunity that doesn't cost any residents any money? Well, one of the benefits of living in a tourist destination is that its residents get to receive some public amenities that do not cost them any money. Usually a fair trade for putting up with traffic and the shenanigans that occur in a resort town. First, some facts. So the way the process works, FEMA will grant you the money to replace the pier you had with certain resiliencies built in. Fine-tune ADA, make it higher, use modern materials. They determine that amount. It's given to the county, and the county spends it. It's up to the county if they want to spend it on a replacement or an improvement. Just as a side note, second time through the 650-page Florida Pier Design Guideline book, width is actually an added resiliency. Something to do with wave energy dispersed over a greater surface. I don't understand that part, but making it wider does make it stronger. I'm hoping our people at Stantec pick up on that. So, the county would need to contribute the difference for an improved pier. What's that number? What is the difference between the less than average pier and the pier that we previously had? We don't know. And we won't know unless the county asks Stantec, what is the difference? And do they have that predilection? Are they leaning that way? I don't think so. I think the speed at which we're seeing this pier progress now is a direct result of them simply trying to replace the old pier. So let's assume it's $6 to $8 million. Naples their original budget was 12 million. It's up to 14. I think their pier is 800 or 900 feet. So that's 14 million. What was the old pier worth? What are you going to get from FEMA? I don't know. I'm not a pier estimator, right? So let's assume FEMA kicks in 8 to 9. Let's assume an improved fishing pier, an improved less than average fishing pier costs 16 to 18. So we're looking for 6 to 8. Oh, what the heck? Let's look for $10 million, shall we? Okay. So low-hanging fruit. That's what I call this slide. The HUD CDBG funds of $1.1 billion that have been committed to Lee County. This chart broad strokes the $1.1 billion received by the county and where the county intends to spend it. I'd like to call your attention to the second and last items. If the county had allocated less than 1% to economic revitalization, I would not be in front of you here today. That would be the pier in its entirety. But county commissioners decided we don't need any economic revitalization. So if you look at the last line, administrative, the last line needs to be examined a little closer. That county has allocated over $55 million to administer the $1.1 billion. That includes dispersing, supervising, and administrating the release of these funds. Granted, it's a lot of work. Did the county allocate $55 million because that's what it costs? Oh no. That's the maximum HUD allows, 5% of the grant. What's going to happen to what's left over? Is it going to disappear into the county ether? Is it earmarked secretly somewhere for something else? We don't know. So, what is $55 million? If you break it down by week, assuming some projects will be shorter than 2 years and some projects longer, well, 55 million is 27 million a year. I like to think of it as $532,000 a week to administer the distribution of $1 billion. So I don't want to put Frankie on the spot, but Frankie, if I hired you 100 staffers, bought you 50 vehicles, 10 fancy copiers, leased you space, paid benefits for everybody, bought all the furniture, paid the electric, do you think with that type of staff, you'd be able to give away $1.1 billion over a couple of years? Yeah? Well, that costs $9 million. They're saying it costs $55 million. I have a problem with that. So, assuming the county could administer the HUD funds for, say, 4%, closer to the national average, that'd be $44,315,000 and change, or $426,000 per week. Well, guess what? That frees up over $11 million. Oh, wait, there's more. So, just a quick recap. Visitor taxes, direct local taxes collected in 2022 in this county from visitors, not from residents, was over $120 million. The TDC, they collected over $57 million in 2021, room taxes, etc. The Tourist Development Council took in $57 million. Well, here's the benefit of a 4-year project. You don't need to pay for it all at once. You can collect it over the course of construction. 5% seems to be a good number for the county, so let's take their lead. And if TDC contributed 5% of their receipts for the #1 visited tourist attraction in the county, it would be $11,505,768 over 4 years, the length of time it's going to take to build the pier. Well, wow, what are we up to? 23 million already? Oh, no. Hold on. LFIR, we touched on it before. Let's assume someone fills out the 4-page application, sends it to the state, and we can approve it. 3.5 million. The total so far? CDGB, TDC, LFIR, 26,084,000. We're looking for 10. We're looking for 10. But wait, there's still even more. Naming rights. Now, I had a chance to think about this on the plane on the way down, and I would have loved to have called a less than average pier the Hammond or Rwand Pier. But now that I think about it, they already have named a pier. It's the one they're going to replace, not the one they're going to build. Their name will be on that one. So, CDGB, TDC, LFIR, I don't know, I'm up to $36 million. So just a quick exercise performed by a small group of residents came up with over $36 million. Imagine how much can be found with someone who knows what they're doing, actually looks at it. So, will forward-thinking common sense and logic prevail? The money is there. The will of the county commissioners simply is not. We are asking for a below-average pier for an above-average town. Does any commissioner have the vision to see beyond their term? This decision has been made by 5 people. It's not too late if you want to see an improved pier. This small group of citizens, the Pier Committee, needs your help to explain to the county commissioners what common sense looks like. Simply common sense. And by the way, none of these commissioners live on our island. So they will not take our calls, but maybe they will take yours. These are their phone numbers. You'll get their administrative assistance. Now's the time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was great. Thank you very much. And please take note of these phone numbers. I'd like to now bring in our keynote, ask our keynote speaker, sorry, my thing, Chris Spees, to come up and talk to us about the Matanzas Pass Bridge project. Oh, you've got a presentation? Can you accommodate that presentation? He's got it on a... Maybe while we're doing that, if we have any questions for Alan, if there's a question in the room. I've got a question, Alan. We've got time just to do a question or two while we get set up here.
Sorry. Really, it's just Diet Coke.
So I guess the question is timing.
Timing.
Yeah, just in terms of timing, how important is it that we educate ourselves and
Part of the at least when the bid description was laid out to the bidders, part of the responsibility of the winning bid was public input. I don't know what that's going to shape up like. There weren't details. I don't know if that's some form of charrette or just a couple meetings. Now's the time. Now's the time because negotiations are taking place currently with the proposed vendor. So we really need, if the county doesn't say, yeah, this is great, you know, you've redesigned the old pier, they're not going to say, what does a new pier cost? Unless we ask them to. So now's the time, simply put. Now's the time, and I would even say repeatedly. They're not listening to us, but maybe in volume they will. And quite luckily, Karen, our Councilwoman Woodson, will be speaking at the February 6th meeting later this week at the commissioners meeting. to express some of our concerns. So that's good. Yes, they're voting on Stantec in April. So we hope that they select someone quickly, but we hope they're open to input. Sorry. No. We would like you to express that it's the desire of this community and the caller that they would like to investigate the possibility of building a less than average pier, not just replacing the third shortest and narrowest pier in the state. So we want to make them aware that there's more than just a small group of citizens on Fort Myers Beach that desire to accommodate the future of this island. Thank you. No, it's all good. Anybody else? All good?
Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Spies.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chris Spies. I'm a GEC with Atkins, representing the Florida Department of Transportation. Been requested to come here today to talk about the San Carlos Boulevard project and give you guys some information on basically the details of the project and where we're at. If you wouldn't mind scrolling to the next slide. There we go. That's okay. Just real quick, this project runs from the north of Crescent Street to the north of the Hurricane Bay Bridge. It's about approximately 1 mile in length. Go ahead. You can, sorry, used to having a clicker. You're gonna have a sore neck after this. So just quickly, a brief timeline on where we are at with the project. This project started in design back in 2019. In the process of that, we went through a PD&E study around the 2020 timeframe is when it started. We had some of the feedback that we received at that public meeting, continued on analyzing the corridor and wrapped up the design in late 2023, early 2024. And here we are in 2024 with construction anticipated to start in approximately April. All right. So the project itself has multiple purposes. Mainly, most importantly, it's about improving safety conditions along the corridor, but also improving operational conditions. And the other intent was to relieve congestion by improving mobility. And some of that goes into basically impacting the increasing the transit ridership and also improving and adding bicycle and pedestrian facilities along the corridor. I'm going to break this down into a couple segments so it's easier because there's a lot of different components included in this project. From on the Hurricane Bay Bridge itself, we're going to be resurfacing and restriping this for bicycle lanes in each direction. We're also going to be, there's a portion of the bridge that's going to be converted to a 5-foot barrier protected sidewalk along the west side of the bridge. And we've got from Hurricane Bay Bridge to Main Street, we're going to be resurfacing and restriping this section of the roadway to incorporate bicycle lanes in each direction. We're going to be reducing the posted speed limit from 45 to 40 to allow for that bicycle lane and improve bicyclist safety. And we are also going to convert the signal at Prescott Street, Buttonwood Drive to a hybrid signal operation. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail of that a couple slides from now, but just real briefly, I just want to explain that hybrid signal operation is basically going to operate two different ways. During the off season, when it's a little bit slower, not as many people in the area, we're going to have it as function as a conventional signal, where it's just going to be like a standard traffic light, red light, green light operation. During the peak season, we're going to have it operate as it does today in the standard alternating function in existing condition. Next slide, please. All right, the intersection of San Carlos Boulevard at Main Street, we're going to be incorporating a new signal. It's going to incorporate the standard pedestrian crosswalk, or I'm sorry, standard pedestrian push buttons, but it's going to have the emphasized crosswalks. We're going to incorporate a new bus bay in the southwest corner, the southwest or the southbound approach to the bridge. And we're also going to be widening to accommodate 2 full lanes onto the onto the Matanzas Pass Bridge. Sorry, I had a couple little animations I threw in there. Just have to hit it one more time. There we go. All right. The Matanzas Pass Bridge. We are going to, again, this is part of the hybrid concept. During peak season, we're not going to change the lane configurations. During the off season, we're going to convert that to allow traffic to utilize both lanes as general use lanes. The existing bridge deck is going to be repurposed to allow to widen the existing sidewalk that's currently about, I think it's like 5 feet, 10 inches. We're going to widen that to a little over 8 feet into a shared use path to accommodate both pedestrians and cyclists. Currently right now, I think there's a stipulation on the bridge that you must dismount to walk your bike across the bridge if you're going to utilize that path. And this will allow cyclists to be able to ride on there along with the pedestrians that are on that shared use path as well. All right. Going back to the hybrid concept, I wanted to talk a little bit more about it to help you guys understand a little bit how it's going to function. And I'm going to start with the peak season. As I mentioned, the existing functionality is going to remain the same as it is. That was what we heard first and foremost from the local officials, the town council, and the public at the public hearing. Basically, what's going to happen is Buttonwood Prescott signal is going to function in its existing condition with the alternating signal. We're going to have some signs that are basically going to be connected with each other with ITS, intelligent transportation systems, which basically allows the county to be able to coordinate and monitor the traffic conditions there. They'll be able to activate those signs in the peak season, and when let's say there's a special event like 4th of July or something like that that's technically out of season, but there may be more traffic, they'll be able to flip the switch and turn that into basically the existing condition as it is today, with the bus bike only lane functioning as is. During the off season, we will allow traffic on both lanes of the bridge. This will allow for 2 full lanes of traffic to basically be able to function and approach the bridge. We've done some analyses. This works a lot better from traffic operations perspective and how the intersection functions. Next slide, please. Oh, you did? Oh, it's okay. All right. Now, this was the intersection at 5th Street on the island was something that was added as we were working on the project. It was a request by the local officials, and working with the town as well as the county. We came out with this design. We've tweaked it a little bit since the public hearing. There was some transit recommendations from there, basically to align that U-turn to allow their buses to be able to enter the bus bay coming from the southbound direction. But as you can see here, we'd be reconstructing the intersection. We're going to be putting in a new signal at 5th Street. There's the opportunity in the main green section in there in the middle for landscaping opportunities. It's being worked out right now. Margaritaville and the county have come into an agreement. Margaritaville has been working on it. They're going to be maintaining landscaping there, and they're working on the plan right now for what's going to be proposed. So it's a really great opportunity. It also provides a great opportunity to channelize the pedestrians, and that was another part of the design of this intersection, to steer the pedestrians towards those marked crosswalks where they can basically go to a safe crossing that's also clearly marked to where the drivers expect them to be. And hopefully between that and the landscaping, it will help deter the jaywalking that's happening right now. It's causing problems with basically people running amok and slowing down traffic as they either enter or leave the beach. And then also there'll be 2 new bus bays Sorry, there's a lot to this last one. There's one on each side of the roadway. One that's next to the Crescent Beach Family Park, and the other one will be on the Margaritaville side, where the Leetram parking exists to this day. So we'll have those 2 bus bays, and then there will also be a mid-block crossing just to the south of that. That will be a rectangular rapid flashing beacon activated. So provide another opportunity for pedestrian crossings. Sorry, a lot of stuff going on with this project. I'm going to go back and, because I know there's going to be a lot of questions. There's a lot of components to this. Let me just button this up real quick. We coordinated with a lot of the other local projects in the area, Margaritaville, the ATMS, the Advanced Traffic Management System expansion that was going on. A lot of those projects are in play, and as you guys know, have caused a little bit of a ripple with the timeline. We were going to be able to hit the ground running with this right after Margaritaville, or pretty close to when Margaritaville was wrapping up. We got delayed a little bit because of that, but like I said, we're going to be hitting the ground, anticipating probably in the April timeframe is when you're going to start seeing activity for the construction of the project. What else is after this? Okay. All right. And then I just have some general information about the project website on the next slide, as well as my contact information and construction's contact information. But I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions, so be happy to answer them as best I can.
Okay, so if anybody has a question, I'm going to ask you to come up and ask using this mic. Come on up.
So I just wanted to make sure about that I understood correctly.
Sure.
That for the bike lane and that it was going to be, there was going to be a barrier between the cars and where the bicyclists and the pedestrians are going over.
Correct. Could you do me a favor? Could you go back?
I'm like listening.
That's okay. Could you go back about 2 more slides? Next one. No, 1 more. Okay, perfect.
Okay.
So you're asking me if this barrier is going to be in place?
Yeah, well, that for
Yes.
sure. There because going to be so that it's less chance for a bicyclist to get hit by a
Correct.
car.
So
Yes.
basically, we've tightened that up so that we widened the spacing for the bikes and peds and moved the barrier in a little bit. I'm sorry. Yeah. Keep forgetting about the microphone. I thought I had a big enough mouth. Yes, correct. We'll be moving the barrier to provide a protected shared use path for bicyclists and pedestrians.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Oh no, you.
On the bike and walking lane, will they be separated? Are you going to paint lines? Or only
Ye-
because people walking don't know a bike's behind them?
Correct. No, it's a very good question. Because of the width, it's very challenging. Usually, like I know up in St. Pete, they have it on theirs where they have like a 14-foot wide shared use path where they're able to put that kind of delineation. This is one of these things where people are going to have to police themselves on it. It's just not wide enough to provide that kind of delineation. Usually, you have to accommodate about 4 foot for the width of the handlebars of a bike, so it makes it a little tight.
We'll be investing in
Does anyone in the state or the county have any idea how many cars come over the bridge and leave in 24 hours? I mean, we're talking about traffic. Well, how much traffic? How many cars? Does it, I've never, well, definitely since the hurricane and a couple years prior, I've never seen the car counters. And I think that's just a very basic question before we start talking about everything else. Now, I know this is ongoing, but am I incorrect that nobody knows?
No, we have that information. We took traffic counts basically to analyze the volumes. That's how when we do our projects, that's how we analyze our projects.
Where can I find that information?
I'll give you one of my cards and I can send it to you, or I can provide that to anybody that wants it.
All right, great. Could I have one?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Hey, Chris.
Yes, sir. How are you?
Thanks for coming.
course.
We know you didn't have to do this. We appreciate it.
Not at all.
Any information we can get out there is fantastic. Now, it's going to take a lot smarter people than me to figure out how to get people off this island, but I tend to be resident centric. And the blinking light on San Carlos, the alternating light, was any investigation or determination given that perhaps one lane be dedicated to residents, employees, and shuttles? Perhaps transponder activated
Where are you talking about? You said
on
blinking?
San Carlos, the alternating light that you can.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Right.
This one. Yeah.
So if we, it's hard to get off this island.
Mhm.
It should be a lot easier to get on for residents anyway. So if you work here, or if you're staying here, or if you're a resident and you have to run off the island to see a doctor or whatnot, it'd be great to have a dedicated lane for those people to come back on. I mean, was any thought given to that? I don't know. I know this is great, and we're all, it's fantastic. Any attention given to improving the situation here with traffic is great. But from a resident standpoint, is that something that was looked at?
I'd have to go back and look at what the alternatives they looked at in the study.
I mean, does it make sense? You know this inside that.
Yeah, I mean, it's we look at it from a volume perspective and trying to improve the corridor overall. I understand what you're saying. Usually when we analyze the system, it's for all users.
Right.
So, I mean, we typically don't, I understand where you're going with that,
Sure. I mean, I've been driving over that bridge and the one before it for a long time.
Right.
It'd be great to be able to get on there. All right, I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to go out on a limb here. Again, we love anything to improve traffic is great. There's a lot of thought about pedestrians crossing Estero Boulevard. There's a lot of thought about how do we prevent that, gating them off. At what point do we say, just raise Estero Boulevard, go 2 blocks south of Crescent, raise Estero Boulevard, extend Crescent Park, make increase parking, increase park space, pedestrians walk under Estero Boulevard. Was that looked at?
I don't think so. I mean,
Okay.
this project initiated as just a roadway project. I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. We have our FDOT's boundary or our limits to our roadway end at the bridge,
Sure.
and then the county takes over their roadway facility. So
Really? The county?
So-
Okay.
Yes, to your comment, hi, I'm Sean Pugh. I'm Sean Pugh. I'm with the Florida Department of Transportation. I'm Chris's supervisor at the Southwest Area Office here in Fort Myers. To your question about south of the bridge, that is currently Lee County's jurisdiction. This is a partnership between us and the county to kind of improve the flow of traffic once it gets onto the beach.
I have a 2-part question. The first is, how long is this project from start to finish?
Oh, thanks. I completely forgot. I glazed over that. Sorry. 18 months is the anticipated duration.
All right. And then second part is, the first light just went in at Margaritaville. We obviously don't have the light anymore at Times Square, but we're all having tremendous issues getting off the island now. Now, in a 1.2 mile stretch is what this project is, you're now including 2 new lights. So if we're already having a hard time getting off now, how is adding 2 more lights going to alleviate the traffic, and how are they going to work together?
Excellent question. Another point that I didn't do a very good job explaining. So another component of the project is we're going to be able to bring what I said, ITS or intelligent transportation, that connectivity, so that ATMS, there's so many acronyms.
Yeah. So essentially, the ATMS allows the signals to talk to each other and able to be monitored and controlled by a traffic management center. Lee County has one. That's what the system's going to be tying into. It's going to be able to detect additional traffic, which will trigger this 2-lane configuration. But more importantly, the signals will be able to talk to each other, so they can coordinate and allow better flow of traffic.
Couple of questions, comments. Number one, on the bridge going over, if you would say, pedestrians, stay to the outer side, bikes to the inner side, that might solve your issue about having them intermingle. There's a lot of older people, they can't hear, they're looking out. It's a big issue. But more importantly, on the driving thing, have you thought about making Fifth Avenue one way during season? So the people from north have to go up San Carlos Boulevard and around. And they either get on the bridge that way or they come out the light by Margaritaville. But all the traffic is in front of Margaritaville. Why wouldn't you bypass that by having all those people? Because that's what causes the traffic, not all of it, obviously, but a significant portion, people coming from the north and crossing over just to get off the bridge when they could go around San Carlos Boulevard.
I'm not sure I quite understood the traffic pattern that.
Pop up your racetrack. So it looks like Belmont Park.
Tell me where.
So Fifth Avenue is over here. During season, this should be one way, this way, right here should be one way only. And these people should have to come up and around San Carlos Boulevard and then either come out by Margaritaville, make a left to go down to the south end of the island, or they get on the bridge. They never come through this mess. So it eliminates all the traffic from the north end from crossing over where we have all the problems.
So, as I had mentioned before, this is kind of a partnership, this project. The jurisdiction, we're kind of working with Lee County with this. The functions of those roads are local roads. So that is potentially something that maybe our partner Lee County might be able to explore, and the beach might be able to explore in the future. But as this project, it looked at the system overall to try to improve the efficiency there.
When you said one way, which way were you talking?
Just one block, one way only, so you would go north.
Right.
You couldn't come from the north end of the beach and cross over through the mess. You'd have to go up St. Carlos Boulevard.
To go.
Yes, get off the beach by.
Right,
back to
'cause right now the-
Margaritaville, or make a left at the new Margaritaville light to get to the south end of the island.
Okay, yeah, and I think that's how we have it configured. It's just hard to see here. Coming from Fifth Street, you can only make a right and go off island. You can't make a left. So basically, it's basically a
You can't
right
make
in,
a
right
left
out.
now.
What's that?
You can't make a left now.
Okay,
It's gotta be one way. So you make a left before that.
gotcha.
You go along the south side of the bridge, or the north side of the bridge, and come back around the south. It would eliminate a boatload of traffic in the most congested area. You already have a light on the other side of Margaritaville here. You already have the entrance for the highway back there. I mean,
All right. Again, I'd like to say thanks for coming in the presentation. So all of this is really to improve traffic throughput, right? And some safety, right? Crosswalk safety. What percentage improvement in traffic throughput do you think you're going to get with the new design when it's all said, everything's running, lights are all timed?
That's a hard quantity to come up with. Well, I mean, it really, because there's multiple facets to this project. You know, one, we got to get the channelization correct. We got to get the signalized coordination, like Sean was mentioning, with the signals. If the landscaping works, we get the right plan in place to channelize the pedestrians to the crosswalks, keep that jaywalking from happening. The signals are coordinated properly. It's supposed to show an improvement. And then hopefully on top of this, with the additions of the bus bays, the connections with the crosswalks, we're hoping that it will hopefully encourage more people to take alternate modes of transportation, not just every single person get in their car and head to the beach. So give them options. And that's what we're looking for. It's a multifaceted approach.
Well, let's assume, can you guys, I'm sure you have models of this, and let's assume that all of this works the way it's supposed to. Do you see a 10%, 20%, or you can't comment on that? Well, it's definitely not going to alleviate our problems, right?
I believe that's actually in the report that was done.
Analysis.
Yeah. I don't know what the exact percentage is there, but you're right. There's only finite so many cars that can come to the beach. You have 2 lanes once you get here. This is just, like I said, just supposed to help with efficiency.
Thank you very much for presenting here. I have a question. The other day I was at the location where the new light is for Margaritaville. And it was probably the 10th car back, just going around the curve there. And people, basically, as you said, are crossing in front of everybody. Doesn't matter what the light is or whatever. But there are people going to the light and pushing it. Construction, people in bathing suits, whatever. So it looked like to me, from counting cars, and I'd really like to do it one day and just sit there for a while. 3 to 4 cars went by and the light turned again because people were pressing the lights, and you have the 2 sides where they could press the lights. So that crosswalk, is there any way that could be programmed that people have to wait, 60 seconds or something like that until the light changes again? Because it was immediately changing the light when it was pressed, X number of seconds later, and hardly any cars could get through.
Another great question. I gave this presentation last week at the town council meeting, and that was brought up by one of the town council members, that signal at Crescent. So I coordinated with the county because that's their signal that they maintain. They're already aware that they're having some challenges with that intersection. So they're working on looking at options for how to improve the conditions that are out there now. I'll convey that to them, that the pedestrian phase is getting tripped very frequently, and it's causing more impacts to the traffic.
Hi, I have a question. You talked about having 3 lanes in use going over the Matanzas Pass Bridge. When you enter the bridge from San Carlos Island, it is 2 lanes. Are you talking about taking out the curb stop there so that it's actually 2 lanes through?
Yes. Yeah. So that bottleneck is going to be removed to allow for that free flow movement during the off-peak hours or the off-peak condition. Traffic will be able to flow freely in both lanes onto the island.
We're going to have 3 lanes always in operation, or 2 lanes during peak season?
It'll be 2 lanes during peak season, with the extra lane being allocated as it is now for buses and bicycles and emergency response vehicles.
And then the rest of the year, it'll be 3 lanes in use?
Correct.
And could you explain a little bit about the studies that were conducted? What were you measuring, and what is the perceived change that's going to be, what is the impact of these changes? So what kind of, did you monitor cars, pedestrians, bicycles, times of day? What were the factors that contributed to this design?
A lot of what you just mentioned. I mean, there's a lot of evaluation that takes place in regards to traffic volumes, pedestrian counts, crash data, not just for vehicles, but for pedestrians and cyclists too, just to see, just to get a feel for what's happening in those areas, and analyze. They develop potential concepts that, different ideas of different possible solutions. And then they're evaluated and basically determined based on their merit, benefit cost when it comes to safety, as well as the overall, funding costs, if they're realistic, if they're feasible.
I do have one more question. So in these studies, the alleviation or the improvement of traffic flow is looking for traffic in both directions?
Correct. And like Sean said, and I know that it's called the OAR, Operational Analysis Report, is on the website, which is on one of the slides in this presentation. That has that report in there. There's a lot of jargon in there, but it does have the traffic data and basically the concepts that they analyze. So it breaks everything down for the study that was done.
Chris, you mentioned jaywalking quite a few times, and part of the problem is people do cross wherever they can because they can cross everywhere, and people with cars are letting them go. Yet you have all these crosswalks at the base of the bridge. Did the state even consider eliminating them all and try and funnel them into one crosswalk where everybody can cross at the same time instead of encouraging to cross everywhere? And do you really think the shrubs are going to stop them from creating a path and then there's another crosswalk somewhere? Now there's, 4 more.
Excellent points. I know there was discussion. I'm going to jump around here. There was a discussion at the public meeting about just putting a rail in there. That's something that, basically it's something that the county and the town weren't thrilled with in regards to liability, as something that people could get hurt on if they were trying to climb over it, vehicles hitting it at a higher rate of speed. So we're concerned about that. There are some landscaping that can be designed to really deter people from utilizing it if it's done properly. So that's one of the things that some of the input that we've got from the public and the town in regards to, if you're going to do the landscaping, try and do it right so it discourages pedestrians. The number of crosswalks, I know it looks like a lot when you look at it, but realistically, there is only one crossing northbound, like inbound and outbound on the island. They're basic. It functions similar to like a 4-way intersection in regards to there's a crossing for each movement. These are just broken up a little bit more because you have islands for people to be able to have a safe place basically to stop if traffic isn't allowing them to cross both lanes.
So does that traffic light where they cross now that's not working, does that go away when you guys finish this build that's by the bus stop that goes to La Ola? Is that going away or is that also going to be included?
No, so the traffic light's going to be at Estero Boulevard, and the next one will be at Fifth Street. But also, just to mention, these crosswalks allow for partial crossing as well because there's a refuge for the pedestrian. So it actually allows the traffic to flow a little bit better because they don't have to cross all at one time. They can go to the island, wait, and then cross one lane at a time. It's safer and it allows traffic to flow a little bit better.
Okay, I've got a question, but I'm gonna. Is it okay if I don't? Yeah. Great. We're just gonna. I've got one question, and we're gonna wrap it up. So thank you for coming. But the question is. So we've been through a lot on the island. We still don't have any condos, a very, very small percentage of condos are open. So our seasonals aren't here. We're at 30% capacity for our hotels. So people are wondering, why do we have such insane traffic? I mean, it is so bad right now. And you may not be the people to answer that because we're here to talk about a construction project, but we have phased in some elements of that project. One phase of it, or one element, of course, is that light at the base of Crescent Street. And a lot of people are saying, oh, it's the light, it's the light. I find it hard to believe a light could cause the almost catastrophic traffic that we're experiencing right now. And so here's my question. It's an obvious question. Is the light causing the traffic or is it something else? Because we just shouldn't be having it right now.
I can take an attempt at trying to answer the question, but without actually having the traffic data to look at it. You're right. You guys have gone through a lot. And with that, there are a lot of, that comes along with that. There's a lot of traffic that comes with rebuilding. So if I had to take a guess, I would say it's partly you have tourists here, you have residents here, and you probably have some construction traffic that's going along with the rebuilding of the island. I don't have the traffic data, so I can't give you an exact answer. That's just a guess.
Right.
I have one quick question. Would they ever consider 2 lanes leaving the island at certain hours during the day? Yeah, that's what they do at the fireworks.
So in the traffic report, they looked at several different options. The exiting the island typically is not the constraint. The constraint typically was coming onto the island. When you come onto the island with the 2 lanes, there's an option you can head south or you can turn north on the island. And so that gives the traffic somewhere to go. When you're in a full traffic, when you have full congestion, the one lane approach with the transit coming on allows for the buses to get along. But ultimately, when you get to that point, you have a bottleneck because the traffic is stopped, it's congested. And that's why during that time, the one lane actually allows, it doesn't hurt the or it doesn't hurt the flow of traffic.
Okay, I didn't want to start anything except ask that question so that, because everybody asks it. And the thing is that there's so much more going on this island. We have a very large amount of construction workers. We have a lot going on the island that is effectively replacing, if not adding to, plus, replacing plus. We just don't know what's going on and why we have the traffic. Is that basically what? We don't have the answers yet. And perhaps one of the things, if we could rally some volunteers, come up with a survey and actually have ask people as they sit in traffic, why are they there? Are they driving through? Are they a construction worker? Are they a day tripper? Let's try and find out. So maybe that's something we can talk about doing as a project over the next couple of months. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Great. Well, after that presentation, it sounds like we need to invite some of the commissioners or some of the county in to help us better understand what's going on as well. They play a pretty strong role in this, and we'll try and do that. Up next is what's up with the town. We're so lucky to have a commitment from the town to attend our meetings in the last portion of the meeting, every meeting, and depending on what they want to talk about and update us on, and what issues are important both to us as they respond to us and to the town. We'll be talking about a whole bunch of different subjects. Tonight, it's our pleasure to invite Frankie Kropicek.
It's a rough crowd. Thank you, everybody. You have to bear with me. I'm kind of working on a voice. Ed, thank you for everything that you do in the community. We have a lot going on. And thanks for getting the troops all rallied here. What would you like to talk about? I'm an open book. So what's out there talking? We have tier 1 that we continually bring up, and everybody is in the front of their minds to let you know where we stand with that. The project has all been approved. It's all ready to go. The vendor is chomping at the bit. It's a little bit more complicated when it comes down to funding, and that's where the state comes in. We're working on the dialogue and the MOU between the state and how monies get transferred into the SRF portion of the project, and to start that way. We're talking days, not months, not weeks. I promise to announce and give you timeframes on the streets that would be affected first. Those who have asked me are the streets we're talking about, as usual: Seminole, Sterling, Curlew, Flamingo. We're talking about Bahia Villa. These are the first streets. Now, when I talk about these streets in general, what we're talking about is not massive digging up of the street. Not all streets need to have a full dig out. Some streets just need new outfalls. Some streets need new debris basins. This has all been pre-established through Tetra Tech engineering and through the vendor. Going out and doing site evals. Those are in the works. And when we get to your street and we're going to announce those streets, we'll let you know what exactly they're going to be doing on those streets as far as the construction for tier 1. And hopefully we'll have something to add and out on our own webpage and whatnot in days, not weeks, not months, when we can really kick that off. A caveat to that program was one we didn't realize until we started doing a lot of the in-depth look at how our wastewater, I shouldn't say wastewater, our stormwater got off the island. and that was in our downtown area. Dahlia kind of woke us up to a lot of things. One, it woke us up to a lot of people that didn't have the berm in front of their house on the beach, was calling us up frantically the very next day saying, how can I get sand? Because it worked. And eventually the downtown area woke up to the fact that, hey, it's not working down here. So from our brand new park at Bayside all the way down to the intersection in question that we've talked about so much for the last hour, we were looking at roughly about 1.5 to almost 2 feet of water. And what that does is that water has nowhere to go. So as it comes into the system can't push it out. There's an item called a duckbill. It's a funny name for an item that just allows under pressure water to go out the outfall and not come back in. This whole downtown area, down Crescent Street, I believe there's 3 on Crescent Street and 2 on First Street that are going to be employed in the first part of this. Well, I shouldn't say in the first part, along conjunction with the Tier 1 port through Andrew Site Work, who is going to be the vendor that's doing the work. And those are going to be put in place to help alleviate some of the downtown flooding as well. That whole section had Tier 1. I don't know why they've never changed it over the years. Possibly about 8 years ago, I think, is when work went through that area and updated some of that sewer line and wastewater line and stormwater line. And they never had the vision to put the duckbill in. But that will be done. And hopefully that does alleviate the downtown portion of the flooding. As we do construction, especially along Estero, again, Estero is not ours. It's not our animal. We didn't create it. It just happens to be going right through our lives. And so does the stormwater system that's adjacent to it. So the county has its own French drain system and stormwater system that they have going up and down Estero North. Ours branches off and ours actually intertwines and works with it. When they were doing the final stages of debris cleanup, the state, when I first got here in April, some of the state contractors were in like by the old women's club area and they were actually able to get out there with their grabbers and grab a lot of debris and help clean some of the outfalls away so we could see the damage and whatnot that was there when FEMA started coming through. That kind of opened up our eyes that, hey, we have this bigger problem probably throughout the island with the outfalls. And Andrew's Site Work has been made aware of that. And as they go through these communities, not just the heavily impacted streets, but the entire program, we're going to be making those right as well. So it's going to be a 3-pronged approach, basically. We're addressing the streets that we need to address immediately. The rest of the plan will start to develop around that. Simultaneously, we're going to be working at the duckbill project downtown, all of which adds to congestion, all of which adds to construction of vehicles and personnel on the road. The downtown portion is only going to take roughly about a week, and it's not going to be all in one area. It's going to be pretty spread out. A lot of it has to be done in the water. These valves are really large and they have to be put in at the water or below water level line. So they actually have special barges that they bring in. They actually have little cranes units that help get down. So it's not going to interfere so much on Crescent or even down towards First Street. And as we get back into the communities, again, depending on what that street needs, if it needs a whole brand new pipe work, all street drains, those type of things, then it's going to be a lot more involved than the streets that are just getting new catch basins, new slanted drains, those type of things. And that was all predetermined long before I got here and before Andy got here as well. So we're just kind of filling out that program finally. So that kind of wraps up where we stand with Tier 1. If you've been around, seen on the news, our new trailers are up and set up. We don't have power thanks to our beautiful partners at FP&L. So if you live in a condo, you're not the only ones feeling their pain. It's been 16 months and they don't turn our calls either. Andy, myself, and the mayor and our legislative aide just returned from Tallahassee, talking with our state representatives up there. They're very receptive to our needs here. As far as what we need, we're looking for more stormwater relief. That seems to be a constant battle here on the island. We're also looking at ways to help not only with the beach renourishment program, which kind of needs a little kickstart as far as what the FWC is willing to put out there. So we're constantly talking with that. The town should be very excited for our environmental manager that we have, Chad Schutz, who stays on top of this, is constantly in touch with the FWC people. Where they won't return our phone calls, they return his. it is what it is. It's an ongoing program with the beach. We know that the beach is, besides the pier, a big draw here. And it's not only just a big draw for tourists to stand on, it's a legacy impact. Without clean water and without clean sand and a place to come back to, not this year, not next year, but 100 years from now, we've kind of wasted all of our time here. And we want to make sure that we do our due diligence to leave something better than it was when we got here. So those are some of the programs that we were discussing up there. Your state representatives are well aware of what's happening here on the island. Both State Representative Adam Botana and Senator Martin, we're very in tune to what we're going through. I think if we give them the acknowledgement that they do deserve, they're here to help and they're here to listen to you. So if you do have questions, please direct them to their offices. They do want to hear from you as constituents. Our good friends to the north, Lee County. We have made a lot of inroads as far as discussions. I don't know what the temperature was here for years before Andy and I got to the island. I can tell it probably wasn't very good. We have made a lot of inroads as far as talking with the county manager, Dave Harner, and with Glenn Sellier, his deputy. Also with the Lee County Utilities Department, helping us with our utilities department. We're a small island, we're a small staff. We only have roughly around 58 employees. Those employees are asked to do a lot of things that employees in other municipalities aren't asked to do on a daily basis, and probably will be for quite a while, just because of the environment that we're living in. Again, we work for you ultimately. So at the end of the day, if we're not meeting your needs, realistic needs, that's what we need to pony up and make sure that we're doing that correctly. The county seems to have given us the ability to at least express our concerns, meet us halfway. And at the end of the day, that's all you can ever ask for. Just a seat at the table so you can talk like adults and try to accomplish things. On to the ridiculous. We're making a trip to Washington, D.C. next week to ask those same asks of our federal legislators to maybe, as things get farther and farther away from Ian's impact, so does the relevance of our situation. This is a situation that's going to be gone on here long after all of us in this room are gone. We're still not going to feel the 100% back to normal effect that hit this island. And that's something that we always have to stay cognizant and keep people on task and on trial with. And we have gotten a really good response as far as meetings scheduled to meet with some people like Senator Scott, Senator Rubio's office, along with Representative Byron Donalds, who's been very receptive to the town and its needs. So we'll be conveying a lot of our woes and issues with them as well. These are things that if you would have asked a year ago or 2 years ago, they would have looked at you and said, why the heck would we want to go there? You know, what are they going to do for us? You know, right now there's not a door I won't knock on. We need help. Thank you. So we need help. And help is not going to happen overnight, nor is change going to happen overnight. As far as how the town operates, how the town does things, a lot of people come up to us and say, my gosh, it's night and day from what it was. You know, on one hand, you want to take the time and think, gosh, that's good. But it's not because of Andy or myself. It's because of the elected officials that you have, their stick-to-itiveness and their direction. Without direction, no soldier marches, right? And so that's the only thing is we're simple soldiers. And we need that marching order, and they've given us a good list of marching orders. Thank you. It's been nice talking to you. I'm looking for Amy at the town council meetings. It's like, what? That's not till Monday. But so procedurally, we don't like to talk about town procedures because town procedures change on a daily basis. As you all know, we've brought in the Jacobs Group to help evaluate and also to help integrate within our permitting and our planning and zoning department. I have a great group of young planners, Jason Smalley, Eli, Kendra. They get it. They see the vision. They also have a gazillion things on their plates each and every day. Our building official that we brought in, Joe Specht, he is with the Jacobs Group. He is a town. He knows us. He bleeds us. He understands that we can't be just code, black and white, building to ground. Sometimes there's a lot of heart involved into it, and he gets that. I preach that each and every day. Our permitting staff, our 4 ladies that we had in permitting have just been knocking it out of the park as far as being able to see things outside the lines, bring that human element back in, help the people. I always joke that when I get a complaint from our neighborhood services people that, gosh, there's people complaining about all the noise on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon about construction going on, I'll know we've made it. You know, we have not even come close to that yet. So I know traffic is a big woe, but when we hear pilings going in at 4 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon throughout the island, damn it, we're on our way. And that's where we got to get to. We can't be complacent. We can't be like Naples and worry about noise. I'm not knocking Naples. I'm just saying the noise. We have to live outside the box for a while. And sometimes that's out of your comfort zone. But that's the only way we're going to get from ground back to building, not the other way around. So that's about all I got. I'll answer any kind of questions anybody has. What sand would you like to know about? So there's 3 different projects. Yeah, there's 3 different projects going on. We had a bid out there for the dredging, the offshore shoal dredging, and they were trying to really do their due diligence to get it in between Turtle and Bird. And by compressing it, the bids came in. There was 2 vendors that could have done it in that time frame, but they could also do it for well over what we had budgeted. So by taking the advice of Coastal Engineering and Michael Paw, that's working with Chad Schutz, our environmental manager, we've kind of taken a step back, widened up that time frame, and we're looking at different ways to do that. We have options of using FEMA sand that was going to be a berm project. We can see, we've reached out to FEMA and seen if we could use a portion of that sand for the renourishment project and use it as a truck haul. There's a lot of different options in play. And all those options are trying to be cognizant of both turtle and bird season. So as soon as something really kicks open here, we will definitely put that on our page and definitely get that out to you. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Leah Gregg.
Yes, ma'am.
I thought you were on the schedule to talk about flooding and storm. No, that's okay. Stormwater flooding. So my question to you is regarding code. It's Article 1, Property Maintenance Code, specifically Section 614, which is neighborhood flooding. So my question to you is, how important is it that new development adheres to the codes to ensure that their neighbors in the surrounding areas do not get flooded based on their bill?
It's very important, but to say that and put a caveat on that, it's also a case-to-case basis. So
help us understand that.
Okay.
And how does that also relate to FEMA guidelines?
Well, now we're right. I'm not going to really get into policy, and I know where this is going, and we'll discuss that and enlighten that on a different area. But to your question in a roundabout way, it's very important to FEMA on a whole. If it's dealt as a case-to-case basis, that's where we have to approach it as. There's plenty of places that were built ahead of time before people even bought a previous property, and they inherited a lot of problems. A lot of those people, we have 2 options. You can live there and bother people and be ticketed, or in this case, we don't have the ability to ticket, but we can violate people and bring it to magistrate, or we can bring people into compliance. And every customer so far that has been in a situation like that, we have had to the table with their engineers, with our town, and we are trying to get them into compliance first and foremost. I'm not going to go out there and start red tagging houses because of something that was there before a homeowner bought it, or even something that a conspicuous contractor did to those people. The people always have the ability to come into compliance, and that's what we're trying to do first and foremost. So that's how I'll answer that question. Yes, sir.
Very quickly, Frankie, thank you for what you do. I know that the pier is a county project. We all understand that here, and you were here for most of Alan's presentation. Do you feel that the county or the county commissioners or both have been forthwith to try to help us not only renovate, but get a better pier than what we had?
Boy, you know, the two things I talk to Ms. Woodson all the time. The two things I hate the most is government and politics. Because you can't win no matter how you talk about either subject. And I'm a scientist by trade. I'm a trained physicist, so this has nothing to do with anything that I've learned. Our partners to the north, let me just put it that way. We need to have more dialogue. I think we're at the precipice of having that dialogue, in that we have the opportunity to have a seated member of our community, of our town, on the CDBG, our executive board. That gives us a little bit of provenance. That means that that elephant isn't just going to parade in front of it's going to actually stop and eat peanuts. Well, but it also gets us to the point where we are entitled to listen and participate in discussions. And that's what I need to say and keep it that way. There's nobody, it's not them against us anymore. It can't be. We're all adults. We have too much at stake. They have too much at stake. So either we sit down and negotiate, either we sit down and have a discussion, either we sit down and have a drink together, or we don't. And I think there is way too much at stake, not only politically, not only for the sake of the government, but for the sake of our communities. I don't think you'll see a lot of that bully pulpit as much as you may think will happen in the future. And bringing back the white elephant, the CDBGR document, that's another reason why we're going to Washington, to make sure that our voice is heard. A few months back, we had our group Tidal Basin, who works for us internally and handles our FEMA internal things to FEMA, our documents and whatnot. They had a specialist out of Mississippi that dealt with the CDBGR for the state of Mississippi. He actually fought the government and then became an expert against the government. And he helped us draft a beautiful document that we plan on presenting to the Undersecretary of HUD when we do go to Washington.
Frank, somebody that's watching wants to know if there will ever be streetlights on Estero Boulevard before they die.
Great question. Yes, we just got an email on that. The gentleman that I talked to at FP&L, his name is Christopher Powell. And he assures me that's the gentleman that we've had multiple meetings with the mayor and other council members talking about the development, the planning, and all that. Logistically, I think that they're just about ready to start kicking off. They have final meetings with the county. Not that the county is doing anything with us. They're doing their own little project with crosswalks. But logistically for FP&L, they're just not stockpiling poles for us in the county. They're going to try to do it all at once. They're going to be dispersing material at the south end of the island at the water tower that we have down there, mid-island, and then also at the north tower as they progress. Roughly about a year they're looking for, and we're looking to kick off probably towards the middle or end of this month. So yes, hopefully if they hang in there, you'll see lights. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
I'd like to take just a moment to invite our council liaison, Karen Woodson, to come up and say a few words.
Hey, everybody. How are you? I just want to follow up a couple things on the pier. Andy had mentioned that I'm going to the commissioners meeting, which is this coming Tuesday at 9:30. Basically, what I'm doing is presenting to them an approved resolution by our town council that we are in support of a bigger and better pier. The other thing, yeah, it's all in writing, it's all legal. Here it is. Needless to say, I'm not on the agenda though, so I have my 3 minutes and hopefully I don't get beeped off. But one of the things too is we need to also come up with funding mechanisms. And thanks to Alan, you have done that work for me. So I'm going to get a copy of that presentation. I'm going to provide it to all the commissioners prior to that meeting. And then I'll just highlight some of the bullet points of what you found in all of your research, and that'll be a start. Andy and Frankie are also putting together some other bullet points for me, so hopefully they won't boot me off after 3 minutes, but you never know. The other thing I was thinking about when I was listening to all this is they do deal a lot with public input. They want public input. I don't know if we could organize some kind, I get it from Captains from Clean Water all the time. It's pushed through the chamber. It's pushed on Beach Talk Radio. But if we could have some kind of letter of support that we could literally press a button and it would automatically go, or people could log into it. I don't know, Frankie, I'm putting you on the spot here, but I don't know if that's even something that we could put on our website for people that are interested, that they could hit that link and then put their name and address in and send it off. But I think if we could get an automated process to this, we'll get a lot more people being able to do that, as opposed to someone sitting down, writing an email, doing a handwritten note or anything like that. I think if we could get it more automated and easier to do. Yeah, so that's it. That's all that I wanted to add to it. Okay, thanks.
Thanks again, Karen, for all your help and support of this group in the community. I'm going to wrap up now. We're running a little bit late, so I'll be quick. But I just wanted to take a moment to have all of you that have been with us from the beginning to look back to June of 2023, only 7 months ago, and think about how long and how far we have come as a community. We were talking about that, our board the other day, and we were going, I think, we did good. We've come a long way, and we've got a lot of projects that have since gone on to the nonprofits on the island. For example, our landscaping committee is now in the hands of the garden club, and that's just great. I mean, that was the whole is the whole purpose for some of the things and some of the committees that we've done. I think arguably, I feel, and I think a lot of people feel now, that our government and our council and our town staff are far more transparent than they once were. And of course, that always leads to trusting our government again. And it's such a great feeling and a comfort to be able to do that, and certainly one less stress in all of our lives. So thank you, Frankie, for coming, and Karen for being our liaison, and let's keep going. To that end, we're gonna take a month off from our meetings because things have changed so much, and so too do we need to ride that wave and look at reevaluate all of the things that we're doing and where the town is and the priorities of the community. So we want to be evolving just as our community is evolving too. So our next meeting will be in April. We want all of you to be involved in the discussions that we are going to have over the next couple of months, because really what we are as an organization is a reflection of your interests, your priorities, and where you want more information. I think after today, I can fairly say that we do want the county commissioners or someone from the county to attend our next meeting. And to that end, we'll see you in April. Thank you for coming. Please give us a call if you want to participate, and see you in the bar.